Hello, everybody. Welcome. Rosa Psych Investigator. Hello, huh? Everybody, welcome. Rosa Psych Investigator. So right now it's about 5:06 p.m. Putting on some chunky bracelets for video. So anyway, so it's 5:06 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. We're recording. Okay, so this is a subject I was looking into in the last day or so, but only not recording. And it's the whole really weird situation with JD Vance, the way he speaks of his wife Usha, and the choreographed embrace that he, the way that he publicly he embraced Erika, what's her last? Kirk. And the whole thing was very, very bizarre. So let's look into it. I have pulled some cards and I'm going to leave that for the very end, but let's get started, okay? So let's do the protection. I'd like to ask for protection. A beautiful ray of lights coming on top of my head as I breathe in. I feel my lungs as I breathe out. I create a circle. I create a circle. I step into it. I step into it. I feel protected. I feel connected. I'd like to ask that information come only from the highest sources, that I create the good and only the good, and so it is. Okay? All right. Okay. So now we are looking at Erika Kirk. Okay. So this is the moment where she is introducing JD Vance and the things she says about him.
To be able to introduce to you a very, very dear friend and his wife. They are incredible. And I see no one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD and Vice President JD Vance. I do. And that's why I'm so blessed to be able to introduce him tonight.
Okay, so that's this part. And okay, so now we're going to look at one of the most, I think, disturbing parts of this, which is when first he talks about how his wife Usha is a Hindu, and then how towards the later on this video, I have to just tell you, of course, right, that he basically puts pressure on Usha to convert in public. It's very disturbing. So let me just play that to you.
I think it's fair to say that she grew up in a Hindu family, but not a particularly religious family in either direction. In fact, when I met my wife, I would consider myself an agnostic or an atheist, and that's what I think she would have considered herself as well. Everybody has to come to their own arrangement here. The way that we've come to our arrangement is she's my best friend. We talk to each other about this stuff. So we decided to raise our kids Christian. Our two oldest kids who go to school, they go to a Christian school. Our 8-year-old did his first communion about a year ago. That's the way that we have come to our arrangement. But thank you. My 8-year-old was also very proud of his first communion. Thank you, guys. I'll tell him that Old Miss wishes him the best. But I think everybody has to have this own conversation when you're in a marriage. I mean, it's true for friends of mine who are in Protestant and Catholic marriages, friends of mine who are in, atheist and Christian marriages. You just got to talk to the only advice I can give is you just got to talk to the person that God has put you with, and you've got to make those decisions as a family unit. For us, it works out. Now, most Sundays, Usha will come with me to church. As I've told her, and I've said publicly, and I'll say now in front of 10,000 of my closest friends, do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I honestly do wish that, because I believe in the Christian gospel, and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way.
Okay, so that was very strange. I don't know. It's a very troubling development. And I have to say, I've never, just because she's married to him, right? I don't think I think she's kind of on the same boat as he, at least to this point, right? Where he got to become the vice president in a, almost effortless way, right? When you think about the fact that basically Peter Thiel handed him the senator job in Ohio, then he was handed the vice president job without really barely any political experience, right? And so here we are. And then, but what he said, I find it, honestly, and I've said before, this is public information, right? That she's a very accomplished attorney. She was working in this firm. I forgot the name of it. It's actually the firm that is known to the founder just passed away. The founder's wife died in 9/11. I forgot Ted something. And I think he was a guy who went after Bill Clinton in the 90s. Anyway, they're famous also because they fought in the case for gay marriage, right? Even though the guy was conservative, Ted, I forgot his last name, he was pro civil liberties. So she became an attorney, I think a litigator even in that firm. So so again, they met at law school, and she became the attorney like professionally. Only when he took the job of vice president did she stop working. Okay, and clearly from the photographs alone, she clearly does not look happy, right? But the way that he spoke, guys, I have no words really. It's like I feel for her, I really do. And even though she, in a way, is responsible for this, right? You say, well, she married this guy, but nobody deserves this. It's just unthinkable. And the fact that and now she, I guess, just finally seeing the price of this, right? Like the racism, it's like his own kids. I find it, I don't know, the way that everything about the way he treats her in public ever since he became vice president. To me, that is very disturbing. Okay. So, actually, there's even, let me just see if I can find, here it is. Actually, somebody has a video. Okay, let me share. This is the statement. Okay, here it is, the statement. Okay, here, so the woman that was on the screen, let's see if I can find it here. I don't know, was that okay? The woman on the screen on the right, she was the person who asked a question. So this was an answer to the question that she asked. She's obviously she's Hindu, and not obviously, but I think there was a person who asked. I don't remember exactly the question, but that's what he's referring to here. First off, the question was from a person seemingly to my left about my interfaith marriage. I'm a public figure and people are curious, and I wasn't going to avoid the question. Second, my Christian faith tells me the gospel is true and is good for human beings. My wife, as I said that at TP USA, is the most amazing blessing I have in my life. She herself encouraged me to re-engage with my faith many years ago. She is not a Christian, has no plans to convert, but like many people in an interfaith marriage or any interfaith relationship, I hope she may one day see the things as I do. Regardless, I will continue to love and support her and talk to her about faith and life and everything else because she's my wife. Um, so, and here's that third post like this reek of anti-Christian bigotry. Yes, Christians have beliefs and share them with other people. That is a completely normal thing, and anyone who's telling you otherwise has an agenda. So, I mean, there's just no way that this looks good. And honestly, I even think that conservative people, it's just putting her in the spot like that is really, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It's something I could never imagine. Like, what is the reason why you would do something like that? It's so humiliating and it's so disrespectful of the wife and the entire culture, I think. Like, if I were to have a conversation with someone, let's say I married somebody who was Hindu, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I went to my husband all the time." You know, I believe I believe in the Bible, and I think I would love it if you just one day you just woke up to the fact that like whatever, like imagine the way that you talk like something so private, so important. Faith is very deep, and the fact that he's just talking about it, like it's like a talking point. I find it just, I don't know. I, I mean, that's his that he shows us who he is, right? And And I feel like, wow, I mean, really, it's so transparent and gross. And we have seen the photos of her, and she looks miserable. And every time, right? She looks miserable. And I think she's a beautiful woman, Usha is, but she refuses to wear. And I'm not saying again this debate of like having to wear makeup, but like she almost wants to hide. And like she's a lot younger than I am, for example. But she looks so much older because I think she's obviously unhappy. She wants to hide. Like, I think she's not happy to be there. And the way that doing this to her, like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. It's just very sad. It's humiliating. And the way that he spoke about, like at the beginning, about her, like, oh, but she was not really, she was almost like me. I was an atheist or something like that, right? Or what was atheist? It was a not like she wasn't that religious to the point where it doesn't matter. Basically, he dismissed the whole thing. And I think like not knowing very little about Hinduism, the fact that she stood by it and said, "I'm not converting," she is a practitioner and she is proud of it. Like, you know what I mean? She's a Hindu. She's proud of it, I think. Good for her, And it's like the fact that he just dismisses it to me, it's I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. And to say that it didn't, of course it mattered to her so much so that she hasn't converted, right? And like, I don't know, just to use it as like political her life, her choices or his political capital like that. I find it really very disturbing. Okay. But now let's go to the questions. Okay, let's go to the questions. I was gonna show you what oh, here it is. Let me just show you because just to show you, this is the guy, it's funny because I was talking about this guy yesterday and there's a whole fight in the right wing. And this is Nick Fuentes on VP Vance. He's literally a fat gay race traitor that married a Jeets. So I don't know. I mean, what can you say about that, right? I don't know what to say about this. And of course, he hasn't defended her, right? He doesn't say, wow, this is just like I haven't seen him defend her. He doesn't he replies to people who he thinks are like the left, right? Oh, you're anti whatever it is, but he doesn't reply to people that attack his own wife. I find that very, very sad. Okay. So anyway, so now let's go to the questions. What the hell is going on here? Okay, what the hell's going on? Why did he make those comments? What's going on? I see. Wow, I see that she's on like on antidepressants, and she's extremely. It's like it's not that she's unhappy. Like, oh, I'm kind of sad about some things. Is that like she wants to be in a daze? Like she can't believe it's like a nightmare for her what she's living. She hates it. Absolutely hates it, and she understands again the price. Like that's what she wanted. She knows that she wasn't necessarily forced into doing this. But now that she's living it, her body is like reacting. And like she understands that was like a way for her to get what she wanted also. But I see again, it's funny, she thinks of Kamala and how Kamala is half Indian, right? And how Kamala stood like she took a certain career path that allowed her to achieve her dreams. And I feel like Usha like is giving up everything for this man. Like, and she had a very serious career. She could have taken a path eventually of like Kamala, become a district attorney, something like that, right? Because she was even she was a what you call it in the Supreme Court clerk to I think two Supreme Court justices even. This is how good she is, right? And so and so it's like a nightmare now. She's essentially paying the price and everything hurts. Everything hurts. I feel like she's in a serious crisis. So so this is the situation now. Oh, and I have to tell you, because it's coming out here. So I see that he's been told by his advisors that he has to appeal to the base. And the way to do it is to look like, oh, I'm a, very nice Christian man. But, I have a few faults, like having a wife that is not Christian. And she's not white either. But it's, that's okay. I love her anyway. You know how he said something like that. So it's like and I see that he's blinded by his own ambition. And so what happens? I see that she's sort of going through the motions. She's in the midst of this, Usha. And it's interesting. She's just completely detached. Like only her body is there, but she does not want it. She's not her soul. She still has a soul, I guess, is not happy with what's going on. And he has transformed again. And someone said I saw this comment online about JD Vance and how he's a chameleon, right? He's had all these different names. He changes according to circumstance. And this is that. Okay, now tell me about let's go to Erika Kirk. What the hell was that? Was it planned? What happened? That's right. And it takes him back to the fact that he took the remember how when Charlie Kirk died, he he went on the airplane, right, with the body. And ever since, it's been like, I'm gonna, oh, great. And I see it's like, oh, an opportunity for me. Wow. I, honestly, like I said, guys, I have obviously had many differences with Charlie Kirk, but I feel, I mean, the level of like, I don't know, it's just very shocking to be honest. So I feel like there was this understanding that JD Vance would sort of want to take his place, and he's being like, they're grooming the audience kind of to take him as the kind of like heir to to the legacy of Charlie Kirk. No, I mean, this you don't need to be a right. This is like everything they're doing is to make him because they to make him acceptable because they want him or and he wants. I see the tech bros are putting a lot into him because he will do anything they want, right? And in order to do that, they have to make him more acceptable to the right. Because even if they can, let's say, theoretically control the elections, he still needs to be, they still feel like he needs to be acceptable to them. Otherwise, I mean, I'm not saying that I don't think this is going to happen anyway, but this is the planning, right? This is how there's a whole strategy behind it. And I'll show you the cards because it's really interesting what the cards suggest here. That this relationship with Erika, so-called, it's totally manufactured and it's a plan to make him uh palatable, okay, to the base. Now, anything else I'd like to, that's right. And it shows me that the thing with JD Vance is that he's not very good at he's not very good at lying in the sense that even and I see that the people in the audience, even them, they were like, whoa. He's not a very good liar. Like he doesn't convince people very well. Like no one that would have been like, wow, I was so surprised. He seemed to know. It's like, right, it's pretty transparent. His ambitions are transparent. Okay, so and he's saying this is okay for tech bros because they love the irony of it all. They think it's all hilarious, but it doesn't work for the average conservative person. So, okay, so let's see. How is the situation going to progress? And how is let's see, how I want to ask about his political career. Like how is the situation progressing? How's the situation progressing and how is his political career going? Yeah, so I feel like I see that he's like, hello, like all these semi rallies, but more like almost like it looks to me like a beauty pageant because he uses a hand like that. Oh, hello, hello. And then he's just so full of it, like, oh yeah, here I am. It's real. I'm gonna be the next president. Wow, yeah. The old man only needs to drop and I'm in. I'm in. And he's just feeling it like this electricity and excited, and then the whole thing collapses. You know what? It's interesting because it's showing me Brazilian Carnival. Now, Brazilian Carnival in Rio, there is this very fancy, it's fancy is a word. It's like parade, right? I've been there once, and it's all these like they call this samba schools or whatever. And it's like lots of like intense costumes, and it goes like for the whole night. It's really expensive to buy a ticket to even sit to watch it. And like, and so they have these cars, right? where a lot of people with costumes, women with bikinis or whatever, like a lot of like crazy feather cross costumes. They sit on it, so they have these wheels and it's a huge things. It's on TV and everything. And then it's like a car, like he's in a car like that. But what's interesting, and that's the one that collapses. But and that's it's funny, exactly like that. Men when they're Latin, the women are quite, semi-naked or whatever, and the men are like wearing like normal clothes or whatever. And I see that they're and they have the little bar handle that he because it's so tall, right? So you don't fall. He's there like almost like Brazil. Oh yeah, like that feeling of the carnival kind of feeling. But the interesting thing for me is that the carnival has a timing. Like carnival is it's actually connected to Lent, the between, oh, I get goosebumps. Carnival ends on the Ash Wednesday. Okay, so let me actually, the last day, like Ash Wednesday, everything is over. Like the carnival is up, it's like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That's carnival. And then everything, it's like quarta-feira, it's known as the Gray Wednesday. That's like, well, let me actually look up. Okay, Rio. That's right. Carnival, February 13th through the 21st. So the collapse of him on the top of a carnival car would suggest that. I mean, I don't want to give you dates, but I'm just telling you that he's totally collapsing then, and when he's on top of this carnival car. And the other thing about carnival that's really interesting that of course it's a costume, right? So he's wearing a costume in the parade. It's not him. So that's kind of like who he is, right? He's wearing a costume in his VP role. So, wow. Okay. All right. Now let's go to the cards because the cards are interesting. I find it interesting. Interesting. All right. So let's see. Okay. Now, okay, I'm gonna hide myself here. Just why? Okay. So now here. All right. So guys, I don't even know. Okay, this is the whole thing that I wanted to start. It's the long one. I know. Let's see. So this is a grand tableau. I'm going to start here with the beginning here, the 3 cards. So I have determined that the woman is Usha. JDVance is the man who is here, the very you see here, 28, and the snake is Erika. Okay. So what's interesting is that Usha is the very first card. Okay. And next to her is a card of treachery. And then we have the clouds. The clouds is it's something not yet known. It could be something not yet known, something that there's doubts about. And so that's her position, that there's like the treachery behind the scenes, or there's doubts because there's treachery going on behind her back kind of feeling. It could be like that very much. And now, because so it's interesting that she is the first. That's true because it's actually, when you think about it, it makes sense because it is about her uh, her marriage, right? The news are really about Usha and how she feels about this whole thing. Now let's look at. There's many cards that are relevant here to the situation. Now let's look at where. So JDVance is right here. Here he is the bottom, and he is in the position of the house of, let's see, the key, something important. Okay. And so let's go to what's interesting is that the way that the technique that I'm using is that I'm jumping from the house to the card, right? So the card 28 is in the house of the key, which will be here. But also we can look at the house 28, which is the happiness. So let's do that. Let's actually go to the house of happiness, which 28 here. And then what do we have? His house of happiness is very happy. He's in a happy situation. He has what he wants. Okay, then we jump to the house of happiness. Now, card of happiness to the house of happiness. What is in the, okay, oh, no, let's go back. What's in the house of happiness? A block, delay. And that's the mountain, right? And what is the delay to his happiness? So let's go. This is 9. Now let's jump to the house of the mountain. That's here it is. Okay. Oh. So we have here is the house of 19, 20, 21. So that's the cross. So the cross is a house of burden. So it's burdening him that everything is taking so long, but there's a burden. Oh, could also be, guys, very interesting. Usually this card is very negative, but there's one instance where it could actually mean religion, right? And that's really interesting because it is true that the real what we're dealing with is religion, the religious voters and such, right? So, but let's go to the house of the cross. What is the house of the cross? Is where the child is the very last house. Now, it could be about the religion of his children because you have the child, but it could also be that he's the vice president. I think, and the vice president technically is the heir to the main person. So I think of it in some ways as the religion of the vice president because because like he's wanting to transition into the president, right? So okay. So now let's go to the 13. What is the house? The house 13 is 10, 11, 12, 13. Now the moon. Something coming out, something being recognized, professional recognition. Something come essentially this card is a lot about fame, something coming out, right? So and what okay. Oh, and let's see. And this completes the cycle here because if you look at the house 32, what is in the house 32? That's JD Vance. So it has to do with him understanding that he is jumping to this whole other level of fame. He's happy. However, there's a delay. The delay for his greater success is the religion. And the religion is connected to his position as a vice president and his professional ascent, right? Okay, now let's go. And so because it once once the cards connect, right, you jump through all the cards, then then um then it's like we have the full story of that one card. Now there's things called mirroring technique, which is like you go one, one, two, three. So if you go actually last, here he is, and we go to this one here, right? One, two, and then here we have the card opportunity in public. Okay, so he's definitely an opportunist. And we see here, right? So he sees that he's in a situation where he sees a public opportunity, and it has everything, I think, to do with religion. Let's see. Okay. Now let's look again. Let's go back to Usha. So we have here Usha, right? Uh in this position on top. Mm, no. Oh my God. Okay. Sorry, I deleted that by mistake. What the hell? Hold on. No, the trash. The trash. Is it trash? Is it trash? Huh? Trash. What the hell just happened? Where is it? Where are you? Okay, guys. Sorry. I have to find. Okay, I think I took a screenshot, I think, of this anyway. Weird. Oh, oh well. Weird. Okay, found it. Okay, it's back on. All right, so let me just finish because this is okay. So we have, oh my God, stop. Here she is the first position, right? And then we jump to the number 19. Okay. right? Number 19. Now, 19, in the little Norman, it means institution. It also means isolation and loneliness. And I actually think that's her issue here. She's isolated. Okay. And then we have, let's see, jumping to the position of 19 here is the mice. What is mice? Stress, losses, right? So if we jump to where's the house of losses, the heart here, this is 23. Okay. And so she's very stressed out because she feels very isolated in her life, right? In her situation. Now let's go to what is position of the heart is right here. And it is, okay, hold on. Oh my God. Okay. The whip means fighting, disagreements. So in the hard house, you have disagreements. Okay. Then if we jump to where's the house of the whip, it's talking about change. The 17 is change. Change in what? Change the hope to change the ideal situation. I'm sorry. Oh no. Is that right? Hold on. 12? No. No. 11. That's right. The 17, that's right. House 17, 16. And what is the ideal situation is jumping to the house. House 17 is the house, card 16. Hopes, right? And then we jump to the house of hopes, where what the card is 20 in public. Okay. And then we jump to again, what's really interesting is this card here, 30. Now, 30 is the card of either older experienced men or sex. Or purity. I think in a way, to me, this, it could even be Peter Thiel actually, because it's like, what are the hopes? The hopes for, it's like the hopes of retirement, you could say, but I feel like when we jump to the house of 30, we have the snake. And I've said before, the snake is Erika. So there's a hope that she become different because of the wishes of the powerful person, right? And who is in the house of the powerful person? Erika. And when we look at the house, what's interesting is that then we jump to number 7, which is right here, right? What is that? That's the ring. The ring means marriage, right? So there's a deal there with Erika. And then we jump to the number 25. We have the key. What's key is what's important, right? The key is what's important in the house of marriage. And then we jump to the position of, I made a mistake. Okay, 32, no, 30. Guys, I made a mistake, but that's okay. Here's JD Vance in this 30, 33, 34, 35, 30. That's right. Okay. So JD Vance it doesn't make sense. So that's really interesting because here is, it's important for JD Vance, right? The marriage very important to him. And what is important is this marriage situation, and the woman, the woman, Erika, presents herself as something that would be pleasant to JD Vance. Okay. And the donor. Now let me just go, guys. I know it's getting really long, but okay. So I asked this question: what is going on between JD and Erika? Okay. Here is the center is opportunity, the card here. And on the left side, we have, again, this cross, child, and the government. Or in this case, I would say that that's the government, right? Or it's like, again, because the question is a bit between Erika and JD Vance, not Usha. We have the Christian vice president in the government. Then we have the center. It's an opportunity. Basically, he's an opportunist. She's an opportunist. Fighting, right? Fighting, or this could even be having sex, but I somehow don't feel like that's what it is. an opportunity for fighting for the White House, wanting to be in the White House. What's interesting is the future column here to the right, heart, ship, and mice. It's a, I mean, love trip, foreign trip, or he has to go because it could also be that he has to leave the government. JD Vance does. And the last card is the mice. The mice means loss, stress and loss, hacking, something like that could even be. So it does not seem like it's going to go anywhere, to be honest, because there are situations that are not good for him in the future. And then, okay, here, Usha. This is for Usha. I'm going to show you this now. Usha. Usha is here, the center, right? I picked. So how this works is I pick a card on before it starts, right, to be the center card. This was the one. Now for her, here we have anchor recognition for a permanent recognition, and 22 is I think it's an election, but it's also a card of choices. So she not only she got this is a final recognition came through election, but she herself chose this because it's the same card means election and choices. Then we have the center, which usually is the present. The woman news about the woman related to the White House. Now, the house also means family, so news about her family, right? But what's interesting is in the future, you have this scythe and like cutting the happiness, removing happiness, leading to confusion, not knowing what's going on. So to me, it feels like even though I said before that I think she's very depressed and obviously things are not working out, she's not happy, she will be blindsided by what happens. Like I think she's so depressed now that she's not taking action. I think also I don't know how safe it is for her to do anything, but it will happen. To me, it feels like because it's the scythe, it's something that could happen suddenly. She's not expecting it, and everything ends. And I do feel like because of this part of the cards and the others, that when the situation of the election happens, I think it will be sudden that they may have to leave the government without notice, right? Not her marriage will collapse, essentially collapse officially at the same time that JD Vance has to leave the government because it's all connected, right? So I wanted to share this. I find it very interesting, right? So it's all coming to a head, right? Because I still feel like even though it's very obvious that she's unhappy, she's being treated very poorly, somehow she's still in it. Like she still may think that, oh, you know what? It's what I chose. I was in on it. Like I chose this life but at some point, that it will collapse. And I think it's like for a lot of people, when you get into a situation, you suddenly realize, wow, what did I get myself into? It takes a while for you to it's like the grief thing. Accept, anger, all like that's the whole spectrum. I think she's still in shock, to be honest. And it will take a little bit of time for her to do something because I think to be fair to the whole situation, she's just she's ambitious as he is, but she chose an ideology that, by definition, undermines women, and she's now seen the reality of it. You cannot be a woman like she is, and having the career that she, being charged as she was in her career and everything, and having a similar role, like she can't, right? So once the whole thing collapses, I think she's gonna want to get out of there like really quickly. So, all right. Okay. So that's the answer. I hope you guys have a good evening. I'm going to work on another video next. And thanks for watching. Okay. Okay.